And now it's my pleasure to introduce Impact Austin's fearless leader, Christina Gorczynski. She's been with Impact Austin for the past 2 years, serving as executive director, and she's been recognized throughout the years for her work empowering women and girls to seek equity through education and advocacy. So without further ado, please welcome one of my role models, Christina Gorczynski.
Thank you so much, Lauren, and all of the fabulous women who are going to be presenting with us today. I think folks are ready on the Facebook Live. We're streaming now, so if folks can just sort of check in Facebook Live and on the chat, let us know you're with us. And I'm going to go ahead and just get into talking more about an organization I'm so proud to lead. So I'm Christina Gorczynski. I'm the executive director of Impact Austin, and I'm here to welcome you to Impact Austin's Women's Leader event as we continue to fundraise to support Impact Austin's community partners that are represented here on this event today, to continue to build philanthropic champions in our members and beyond, and to celebrate women's philanthropy and high impact grant making. So thank you so much to everyone here for all of your contributions to Central Texas nonprofits, both big and small. So Impact Austin is a women's collective giving organization based in Central Texas. We welcome all women with a desire to give back and make an impact, whether you are new to Austin, have lived here for years, a beginner in philanthropy, or well-versed in collective giving. We meet you wherever you are in your journey and travel together to make a huge impact. So what is collective giving? Collective giving is a form of shared giving and meaningful social networking. Impact Austin members pool individual charitable contributions and then decide collectively how to award strategic high impact grants. More members means more dollars invested into our community partners and into our broader community. For background, the seed for Impact Austin was planted in January of 2003 when our founder, Rebecca Powers, read an article in People magazine about a group of women in Cincinnati who each pooled $1,000 and together gave a $124,000 grant to a dental clinic that provided services for folks experiencing homelessness. So she was inspired, she shared the story with friends, which sparked an idea that is now developed into Impact Austin. And after 17 years, we are celebrating a total investment into the community of $7.4 million. And that $7.4 million was collected in individual $1,000 contributions from Impact Austin members and went out in the form of 93 high impact grants to 68 organizations. And as much as collective giving is what brings folks to Impact Austin and will hopefully bring many of you today to Impact Austin, join our membership, joining Impact Austin is so much more than a membership. Along the way, you'll expand your knowledge, share your talents, and build your own personal and professional network. This year, you'll be able to get involved virtually, join a grant review committee, and find so many ways to plug in with peers who are equally generous. So the goal is for you to join Impact Austin to collaborate with other women and innovate new solutions to old problems. We're hoping that you build some meaningful connections and develop friendships and make a huge impact alongside smart, dynamic women who share a love for Central Texas, including the women like Lauren and Susan and Laura and Mimi who are on today. So I think we've heard the African proverb that says, when we go alone, we go fast. When we go together, we go far. I encourage y'all to visit impactaustin.org to learn more about how to go the distance with us and make an impact. I'll be walking you through the site later on in the program just to help navigate the site for you and show you different ways to plug in. We're always using our collective resources for good and to stay informed and looking for better and new ways to support nonprofits who ultimately are the ones addressing big issues. And 2020 has presented some very big issues. We as an organization have pivoted our own programming and our own grant making to best support our community partners and working alongside them together in service. with both current and previous grantees. So I encourage all of you, again, to visit impactaustin.org to learn more. And now I get to turn it back over to Lauren to introduce the incredible panelists today who are going to talk about what an impact their organizations are making, and also to hopefully build champions in each one of you to get involved with these wonderful organizations. So Lauren's up to introduce our first speaker. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Christina. And it is my pleasure to introduce Mimi Stiles. And Mimi Stiles is the president and founder of Measure and the recipient of Impact Austin's first social innovation grant in 2019 with the collaborative effort, the Innocence Initiative. And that was actually what inspired me to get involved with Impact Austin. That was my first event last year. I saw Mimi speak and I got extremely excited. And I joined Impact Austin shortly thereafter. So thank you so much, Mimi, for all you do, and please take it away.
That is so encouraging. I appreciate you for saying that. Yeah, there's so many just phenomenal stories that have come out of the work that Measure and all of our partners have done in partnership with Impact Austin. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so that I can tell you a little bit more about some of that work. And there we go. Perfect. Awesome. Well, hello, everyone. I am so excited to be able to be here today and share with you some of the work that Measure has done around the Innocence Initiative in partnership with Impact Austin and several other partners. But the Innocence Initiative is one of our, I would say, one of our greatest accomplishments at this point in terms of really attacking this really horrible way of understanding Black girls, and that's adultification bias. And so the Innocence Initiative was created to really disrupt and dismantle adultification bias, and I'll talk a little bit about what that is. But first, I want to just let you know what we do at Measure as our main program. And so our mission at Measure is to use data and education to mobilize communities to eliminate social disparities. We know that data allows us to speak in one common language. It allows people to understand deep systemic issues in a way that, that we can all come together and think of solutions based on the data. It doesn't completely throw out the real, true experience of marginalized communities, but what it does do is it gives us all a baseline so that we can move further. And so when we talk about progress, we actually have a number to measure it. And so how do we do that? Well, Measure has realized that nonprofit organizations that are led by people of color, just like myself, need tools for success that Measure has innovated and tested. And so really this came out of a lot of learning, and I'm gonna get honest with you right now. As a woman, as a Black woman, right, I did not feel at any support when it came to taking this solution that I had called Measure to scale and to offering it to other organizations. I didn't feel the support needed. I didn't understand the world of philanthropy whatsoever. And so I just knew that I had this great idea. I knew that we were doing this amazing work, but this work was not sustainable. And so what Measure has done is that we've created a system of sustainability. We've created 4 tools that we provide to nonprofits that are led by people of color for pretty much free, right? So we provide this support of teaching them how to create a survey that's created by us, for us, by people of color, for people of color, how to create community impact metrics, how to measure your impact, how to do a focus group that is led by people of color or led by allies that understand, their role in these conversations. And then also the CARE model, which is our mobilization process that we share with other nonprofits led by people of color in order to turn their solve into something that's sustainable. And so what we do essentially is that we pair them with certified measure educators who are also consultants or volunteers to support them as they prove their concept and measure social progress. That's Measure's main program. But what I'd like to talk to you a little bit about today is the Innocence Initiative, and being incredibly blessed to have been brought into the Impact Austin family. So we heard about the Social Innovation Grant, and I got to be honest with you, and I've been very clear about this, I was very intimidated in the beginning because I didn't know of very many organizations that looked like me, that looked like, that was ran by people that looked like me, or, my organization Measure is pretty much Black woman run. And we didn't understand that this opportunity was also afforded to us until we were encouraged to apply. And not only that, but it created a space for us to partner with some other amazing organizations like Lone Star Justice Alliance, like the Girl Scouts of Central Texas, Hearts to Heal, led by the phenomenal Maria Brown Spence. And then, one of the organization that's really close to my heart, Community Advocacy Healing Project, led by Fatima Mann. And so we came together to tackle an incredibly systemic problem of adultification bias. And just to give you 2 seconds of what that is, it's proven by research that had came out from Georgetown University. People in general look at Black girls starting at the age of 5 years old as less innocent, as needing less comfort, as needing less care, needing less love, which that then turns into more criminalization for Black girls, that turns into more suspensions in schools for Black girls. We've just seen some incredible numbers of Black girls being suspended 10 times more likely than white girls just within Region 13 schools back in 2015 and 16. And so what we wanted to do is we wanted to come together and do a holistic approach to fixing this issue, to disrupting it completely by training defense attorneys, because in many cases, they're the first people that are in front of a Black girl when she, before she goes to see the judge, and they need to know what adultification bias is so that they can appropriately advocate for her. To increase the number of Black Girl Scout leaders. It's not saying that Girl Scouts is going to disrupt adultification bias, but we wanted to create a space for Black girls just to be treated in the way that people, just fairly, and encouraged and edified in their own brilliance. We wanted to create a public advocacy campaign, right? That gives a blueprint to schools and to state government, and then also to local government. We wanted to create a public awareness campaign, a text solution to pair parents with lawyers that know what adultification bias is when faced with this problem, and then also a blueprint just to share and bring this information out to other cities and counties. And so what the results were, and I'll kind of quickly go through these. So far, okay, and I'm telling you so far because we're still hacking away at this incredible journey, is that we've been able to train over 700 defense attorneys in this, although we said we were going to do 50. 700 defense attorneys have already sought credit from our training in partnership with Lone Star Justice Alliance and the Travis County Juvenile Justice Department. And in terms of increasing Black Girl Scouts, we've had to pivot a bit because we could not have our event in May, but instead we're going to put that to the end of the year with a BU summit. Policy advocacy, we've convened a community of Black women, teachers, just phenomenal, just advocates, and they've created a policy advocacy manual that we're now in the editing phases of. our public awareness campaign, hey, we produced a comic book. This comic book is called Hey Sis Be You, and it's just about edifying the Black girl. It starts with the story of the first Black woman president, right? Go figure. The comic book has just been picked up with Austin Women magazine, and it was an 8-page spread in the August issue. We've also been able to partner with the Austin Public Library and the Bookmobile, and we're sending that comic book out to 5,000 youth all around Austin, Texas. And then also the blueprint and the research report. Luckily, Georgetown University heard about the work that we're doing right here in Austin, and they said, we want to partner with you. And what they're doing right now is that they're evaluating our entire process so that we can then have an event, a national event, so that we can share some of the work about disrupting adultification bias. I was also lucky enough to speak at the Women's March this past January to inform our community about what adultification bias is. All of this happened because of the support of Impact Austin. And then sometimes when you provide the support necessary, the wind needed in order to do this work, Black women show up. And let me tell you something, we've shown up for this social innovation grant in ways that they're measurable, because I believe everything is measurable, but almost immeasurable in the ways that we've shown up. The Travis County Girl Squad is a program that we've developed in light of the pandemic, and then also in light of all of the social unrest that we've seen in our community, and the ways that the movement, the Black Lives Matter movement, and everything, how that's impacted my community has been incredibly traumatic. And so we've realized that that Black girls need us even more. They need us to show up even more. And what we even realize is that Black girls need Black women to show up for them. And so what we've created was what is the Girl Squad that is now providing support to 10 Black girls at a time. We give these girls access to 2 Black women psychologists who are phenomenal. We've been able to bring on the team. They get a free laptop to make sure that they have access to technology. They get $100 just to participate and to learn about what it looks like to be compensated for providing feedback and for participation. They get $100 just for food because we know that right now our people are hungry. And so we were providing this service to them every single month, and they also are provided mentorship with another Black woman. So we've also been able to recruit a team of Black women in Austin just to partner with each one of these girls. So again, I am incredibly humbled by the support that we've gotten from Impact Austin through this grant, and then also through the several community partners that have heard about the work that we're doing, empowered by Impact Austin, and have jumped on board. And all of the folks within the organization that have decided that, we're going to show up in a way that we've never thought about showing up before. And although it may be uncomfortable to send me an email to have a conversation about race and about equity and what it really means to be anti-racist through philanthropy, they've done it. And so again, humbled and thankful. And I hope that gives you a good idea of what we do at Measure and what we've been able to do with the support of Impact Austin.
Thank you so much, Mimi. And thank you for reminding me why I joined Impact Austin and for all of the work that you're doing here in the community. And now I would like to turn it over and introduce Laura Wolf, who has been the CEO of CASA of Travis County since 2007. And in this role, she runs a $6 million nonprofit organization with 70 professional staff and nearly 800 volunteers, annually serving more than 2,000 children who have been abused and neglected. And she is no stranger to Impact Austin. CASA has been awarded multiple grants since 2010. And we are so happy to have Laura Wolf here. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much, Lauren. I am delighted to be here with all of you and so grateful to Impact Austin for inviting me. Yes, CASA has received 3 Impact Austin grants over the last decade, and I will talk in a moment a little bit about them. But first, I'm going to share my slide. There you go. So CASA, for those of you who are not familiar with it, is an acronym that stands for Court Appointed Special Advocates. And we recruit, screen, train, and most importantly, provide professional support and supervision for community volunteers, people just exactly like you, who then become the advocates for the best interest of children who have experienced abuse or neglect and who are in the court system as a consequence of that. And our job is to get to know the child, get to know everybody connected to the child, their family, their foster family, teachers, doctors, therapists, everyone involved with that child, so that our volunteers can then go back into court and make informed recommendations about what needs to happen for that child in their best interest, short-term and long-term. The judges are charged with making really momentous, life-changing decisions for children, and they want as much information as they can get. They want courageous, creative, common sense recommendations about what's in children's best interest, and that's what our volunteers do. Impact Austin has been truly, genuinely, authentically impactful for CASA over the last decade. The very first grant we got helped us to serve better and to develop a whole program to focus on the needs of youth in the foster care system who are teenagers, who are at risk of aging out of the foster care system. And the grant that we got from Impact Austin enabled us to start a little team on our staff with a little group of volunteers who were going to focus just on these kids. And now we have a team of 7 people on the staff and easily 150 volunteers who focus specifically on the needs of teens at risk of aging out. The second grant that we got from Impact Austin helped us to infuse an understanding of trauma and its impact on children throughout our advocacy, helped us to train all of our staff, all of our volunteers on what trauma does to kids and how that manifests itself in their behaviors, and how we can, armed with that knowledge, be better advocates for what's in those children's best interest. And then our most recent grant from Impact Austin has been transformational in helping us to recruit a more diverse volunteer pool. Children of color are dramatically, disproportionately represented in the foster care system. No surprise to any of us because of disparities in all of our systems. And we want to do an ever better job of recruiting volunteers with whom the kids we serve and their families feel something in common. And the grant that we got a couple of years ago to do this from Impact Austin has made a world of difference for us. This year, a third of the applicants that we are getting for people wanting to become new CASA volunteers are from people of color, which is outstanding and amazing to us. And we're so, so, so grateful. All of these initiatives that we began with the help of Impact Austin continue to this day and are bigger and deeper and part of the whole fabric of who we are at CASA. And that is a tribute to the women involved in Impact Austin and to their belief in this community. They asked us to speak to you a little bit about challenges. I think that obviously the COVID-19 situation is challenging all of us in a myriad of ways, and the isolation, the anxiety, the economic hardship, those things that are everywhere are certainly very present for the children we serve and for their families. And so we are very much grappling with, on a daily basis, how do we help to ensure the safety and well-being of the children we serve and their families in this time? Where do we find new ways of advocating for their best interest? Whether it is a volunteer who saw a black eye on a child over FaceTime and raised concerns about that, or whether it is CASA sending groceries to the home of a 17-year-old girl who is caring for her siblings and her mother after the grandmother with whom they were all living died from COVID. From all of those angles, from virtual court hearings happening over Zoom, we are every day working to try to do the best advocacy we can and provide support to the children we serve and their families in this time that is traumatic for our whole society. The final thing I'll say, just to wrap it up briefly, I always tell people that when you read a story in the news about the child welfare system and you feel discouraged and you think, what can I do? I'm just one person. This is a whole system. CASA is what you can do. That's our whole model, is to train and empower individual community volunteers to make a difference, one child at a time, one family at a time. And we need you, the kids need you, the community needs you. Impact Austin is an amazing way of helping to meet those needs. If you're considering joining Impact Austin, I would certainly encourage you to do that. We are very big fans at CASA. So thank you again for being here, and Impact Austin, thank you very much for inviting me to be here.
Thank you so much, Laura. And thank you so much for all that you're doing within the community. And I highly recommend volunteering with CASA. It's such a rewarding volunteer experience. I know so many people who have just come out of that experience forever changed and just jump right back into it. And now I have the pleasure of introducing Susan McDowell, who is the CEO of LifeWorks Austin. And Susan and LifeWorks was actually the first community partner receiving a grant from Impact Austin in 2004. And as I said, Susan is the CEO of LifeWorks and has been a fearless advocate for youth and families on their journeys to self-sufficiency here in Austin. And they have won multiple Impact Austin grants, but that first one was in 2004, so they have a very special place in our hearts. Take it away, Susan.
Thanks so much. And I have the privilege, I think, to get to talk about two origin stories today, that of LifeWorks and that of Impact Austin. But I would also, in my introduction, introduce myself as a fangirl of the not only Impact Austin, but my colleagues in this session today, Measure and CASA. And I hope you hear so much overlap in the mission and the heart of what we do, and know that in Austin, as you hear so much about, us supposedly having so many nonprofit organizations, we really nurture a culture of trying to work together, trying to use data, elevating the voices of our clients in what we do with that data, and collaborating. And that is one of the many ways that Impact Austin supports the work we do and the health of our community, is by being a forum of bringing together not just hundreds of women philanthropists, but the organizations that are making a big impact in the community, so we can do this work together. So let me talk a little bit about LifeWorks. LifeWorks was founded in 1998 through this kind of crazy four-way merger of nonprofit organizations, and I got to be on the founding team of that effort. And our goal was to build a large, nimble organization focused on fearless advocacy for youth and families who are on their pathways to self-sufficiency. And please note, when I say their pathways to self-sufficiency, not necessarily what my pathway was or the pathway of any of our staff members or funders, but we find with our youth and their families, they have a good idea of where they want to go in life, but they have maybe not had the advocacy, the opportunity, and the kind of unconditional support that is maybe not necessary, but certainly helpful to get there. So that is our commitment. We serve 4,500 families every year, and so we have 20 plus programs at LifeWorks. So for a Austin nonprofit, we're a big Austin nonprofit with about 200 employees, but all of our services around self-sufficiency can be categorized under three core beliefs. The first core belief is that everybody deserves a place to call home. We are working with youth and young adults who have deep experiences with systems, foster care and juvenile justice, systems that were really never trained to raise and nurture children, but this is what they have done, and youth age out with a lot of resilience, a lot of dreams, but also needing a lot of support and advocacy, particularly in housing. So one of our key components is numerous housing programs. What looks like home for one might not look like home for somebody else. So we have everything that spans from street outreach to shelter, several different kinds of transitional living programs, rapid rehousing, even permanent supportive housing. And as you will see on the headline, our chief goal as an organization is to end youth homelessness by making it rare, brief, and non-recurring. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. But it's not just enough to find somebody a place to live. There also has to be a recognition that everybody deserves the opportunity to learn and work at their own pace, in areas of their choosing, and in ways that normalize and frankly celebrate the so-called stumbles and failures along the way, because we've all had them. So we have a lot of programming around how to enter the workforce and education for youth who, traditional means may not have worked, and recognizing that a lot of our youth have been through substantial trauma, which leads to the third core belief. So we've got everybody deserves a place to call home. Everybody deserves the opportunity to learn and work. Everybody deserves the opportunity, the chance to heal from trauma. And Laura talked a little bit about trauma a few minutes ago, but if you have grown up in foster care, you are more than twice as likely as US Iraq war veterans to suffer from PTSD. So we are a trauma-informed system of care, and we have evidence-based mental health services to help that healing process start as youth are ready and in ways that they choose and want to commit to. So those are our three pieces: place to call home, opportunity to learn and work, the chance to heal. Like our colleagues at Measure, we are obviously of the heart. We are also of the head. We are data junkies because we know our hearts can be in this work all day long. But if what we offer is not what youth want and not what shows evidence of working, then it's on us to change. All the heart in the world does you no good if what you're doing is not what is desired and not what's effective. So we have built ourselves a data-driven learning organization that actually involves youth in the process around data. We've got one research project where youth are not just the subject of the research, but they're the principal investigators. So we can kind of learn from them what's going to work for them, so they can have a voice in shaping what comes next for the youth coming after them. So as I mentioned, our chief goal is ending youth homelessness, rare, brief, and non-recurring. By the end of the year, with COVID, I will tell you what we are seeing to speak to the chief needs we are seeing in the community. We are seeing more youth fall into homelessness. We're seeing a greater percentage need our help in ways they've never needed our help before. And we're seeing youth who are currently in services, who are struggling with employment, struggling with trauma over these last 6 months, will likely need our support, our housing and our service support for longer than we anticipated. So we may stretch into next year for the goals we've set around ending youth homelessness, but with the support of the community, we're going to do that because what we're doing is working. Since October 2018, we have moved 545 youth into permanent housing. We have reduced youth homelessness from 2019 to 2020 by 28% in the community. So we know what we're doing is working. We know that the challenge has gotten greater in the community, but we also know this is a community that can wrap itself around a goal, particularly right now when safety is key. So second origin story, yes, we were the first Impact Austin grantee in 2004. I remember when members of the founding team of Impact Austin came to a Human Services Association event, kind of announced what they were going to do. We're going to find 100 women. We're going to raise $100,000. We'll be back in the spring. And we were kind of like, who were these people? What's going on here? Sure enough, they came back, said, okay, it's going to be $100,000. Here's the process. LifeWorks was very fortunate to be chosen to fund a workforce program that, quite frankly, nobody else would fund. So Impact Austin made a vision for youth workforce possible in this community that no one else would touch. Years later, we became a grantee of Girls Giving Grants, who funded a library in one of our resource centers. And I will just share really quickly, just a couple of years ago, I was out of town. I was checking into a hotel, and I heard from behind the desk, Mrs. McDowell, is that you? And I'm looking around, and sure enough, it was one of the team leads from the Girls Giving Grants who was in management at this hotel. We sat down, we had coffee, talking about how she's involved in the community in this other city. And I thought, this is another amazing piece of this organization, developing the next generation of philanthropists wherever they settle and whatever their passion in life is, right? We received most recently a grant that was really focused on helping us develop the knowledge and the technical expertise to increase our Medicaid billing proficiency. And boy, that sounds inspirational, doesn't it? It actually does, because most of us in the field are funded by grants. With the Affordable Care Act years ago, created a huge opportunity for a new revenue source that would help us serve more people in the community suffering from mental health issues. And the long and short of it is, we needed to learn how to do that. Again, nobody else touched it or funded it till Impact Austin said, oh yeah, I really get how you guys can learn from this. Oh, and by the way, would you mind open sourcing the report you developed so all of our other partners in the community who do mental health services can figure that out too? So we did. So it's always about moving together, and it is always about kind of collecting this or developing this collective approach to serving the community, sharing information, kind of tearing down the silos that could otherwise separate us. So we're fans of Impact Austin. As Impact Austin has grown over the years, LifeWorks has grown, and it's just been a delight too that our paths have been so interconnected. So thanks, Impact Austin. And if y'all have any questions, I'm sure we're all here.
Thank you so much, Susan. We're really, really proud to partner with LifeWorks, with CASA, with Measure, and I think Impact Austin members have been really excited to be along with all of you on your journey and as an organization. So It's my role to talk to you about how much Impact Austin can help you. So the folks who are here tuning in on Facebook and here on the Zoom, especially some of our corporate partners who are joining us today. So I think just quickly, as far as Impact Austin as an organization, our goal is to transform not just the community, but to transform ourselves as individuals and ourselves as philanthropists and collective givers. So I think one of the first ways is we are able to help our members expand their knowledge and community engagement. You'll be able to get involved in learning more about grant making fundamentals, reviewing grant applications, and then recommending grant finalists to the entire membership. It's some really exciting employee engagement, especially virtual engagement for companies that are looking to engage with fellow colleagues, with their employees, and it's a really great way for friends to join together and then serve on grant review committees together or get involved in different aspects of the organization. So as far as Impact Austin supporting you, our goal is to expand your knowledge and to create a philanthropic journey that you'll want to join along. The other thing Impact Austin's able to provide is access to some of these incredible community leaders that are working together to have the biggest impact. So it's an opportunity for those of you who are interested in giving more to the community to get involved with Impact Austin. You're learning more about the community and more about organizations and what the greatest needs are. And so the other goal is to help inform your own personal giving. So your own personal philanthropy outside of just your membership to Impact Austin, but any other dollars that you're looking to support the community with and keep you best up to date on where it's most needed. The other, I think, as far as engagement goes right now, especially, is we have transformed all of our programming to be virtual. And right now, so many folks, employers, friends, our families are looking for ways to stay plugged into the community. And I would call this just an outpour of support from the community, especially since COVID. It's not just that we're quarantined and people have kind of a new appreciation of how to spend time online, I would say, and connecting online. It's also that people really want to help and be supportive right now. So join Impact Austin, and we're able to help provide you and guide you through your philanthropy, to plug you in with ways to give back while everyone is reaching out now saying, what can I do? What can I do during COVID? What can I do to help resolve so much of the racial inequity and gender inequity going on in society? So come and learn from us, come and learn with us. I think the other quickly is that as a volunteer organization, there are so many powerful ways to get involved in leadership development opportunities. So one is just through our virtual programming to learn more about philanthropy. The other are opportunities to serve on our board of directors, to serve in committee leadership roles. I can tell you that quite a few of our members speak with me personally and say how much they work in male-dominated fields, and that they've always wanted to work with women and work in committee and in collaboration with women. And so I think for a lot of women, especially those in male-dominated professional fields, or what have traditionally been male-dominated professional fields, it's an opportunity to not just have a seat at the table, but have a leadership position in ways that women are supporting each other and creating spaces for collaboration. The other quick thing Impact Austin wants to do is provide you with opportunities to plug in socially right now. So we're doing online, what we call zones events. Those are our socials. And I can tell you how many folks are participating now that previously may have not had time to drive all the way across town to go to a happy hour or go to a learning opportunity. We've got quite a few folks joining online. And I can say for me personally, it has really helped me feel more connected to the community to participate in virtual events like this one and also our social events. So that is what I think we are hoping to offer our members and some of our corporate partners. And there are so many ways that you can help support Impact Austin. And the first one, of course, is for those of you who are Impact Austin members on the phone, to go ahead and renew your membership today. So renew your commitment to Impact Austin For new folks, it's join and then recruit others. The goal is that you'll share this information that you learned today with your colleagues, with your employers, with your friends. And I ask that you specifically reach out to women who you see are upcoming leaders, or women who you think could use a nudge in getting more involved in the community, to reach out. For those who are on too, I can quickly just share a link here in the chat of ways that you can help. And for folks on the phone, if you work for one of these amazing companies that provides corporate matching, and if you go into the link on the chat, and for folks who want to visit our website, if you go to impactaustin.org, there's a corporate matching drop down. That is where, if you work for a company, you're able to double your donation. So for folks who work in companies that provide matching, for the your normal $1,250 investment in Impact Austin and our community partners annually, you would be able to split that in half to $625. Submit that to your HR department or to your corporate matching program, and then they'll go ahead and pay your membership dues. I also encourage those of you who yourselves are employers right now to really think about underwriting memberships or supporting memberships for your female leaders and for upcoming female leaders in your organization. There's ways to do that by buying bulk and by investing in buying several memberships to underwrite folks, but also to consider for some of you to join yourself. So support your employees, but also first come on and get involved with us. I think the other way to consider getting involved, for those of you who just heard $1,250 and were like, I haven't written a check that big in the community before. I can tell you, probably if you sit down and do the math of all the giving you do over the year, if you are giving here and there across the community, if you're buying, raffle tickets or you're engaging in the community, you are probably giving $1,250 a year somehow spread out through the community. And one way to consider doing that is to break your Impact Austin $1,250 annual contribution into monthly payments. So you have a monthly payment program where you're able to join and get involved in participating in our grant making process immediately. I think, just to finish up, I know that the philosophy of to whom much is given, much is required. And I can speak for myself that I feel a particular responsibility, especially right now, having been blessed with talents and resources and knowledge and time, and all of you to consider right now sharing your time online, whatever precious time you may be able to spare for the community, sharing your treasure. So that contribution to Impact Austin, your ties, meaning your connections, your professional connections, your personal connections, to also come and share your testimonials and your lived experience and all your social capital with Impact Austin. So I'm really looking forward to hearing some of the questions. I know folks on the line are interested in asking some. So I believe everyone's going to be jumping back on video and we're able to do some Q&A. I'll be engaging in the chat here and also on Facebook Live too. So thank you.
I just want to thank everybody again for your time today. And as promised, we do have some time for questions. And if we don't get to your question, we will answer everything either online, via email. You can reach out to us at any time if you don't feel like your question was answered. But I am going to jump right in. And the first question we got is kind of loaded, so no pressure with you guys here. But the question we got was, what are the top 5 issues that need to be addressed in Austin? So it might be good if we just kind of go around, and if everybody wants to maybe pick one or something that's really top of mind, especially within your organization right now, that would be great. Mimi, do you want to kick us off?
Absolutely. So in terms of top 5, that's really hard, just to be really honest. Just to be very clear and very honest about my community that I represent. And so, I just offhand, because we've done some work at Measure, trying to understand the impacts of COVID-19 on particularly the Black and Brown community. it's right now, it's really access to just basic needs, access to technology, making sure that we have access to healthcare, access to testing, making sure that we have real communication and real information about how to get the support and the help that we need. We have this assumption that if you do a social media post, then people will know where to go get help. And so I think that right now is incredibly important. But I do want to mention one other thing, not just access, but mental health support right now in my community, because it's already taken such an incredible toll just with COVID-19, but then also seeing the aftermath of like George Floyd and everyone else, right? It's an incredible mental toll on especially the Black community right now.
Thank you. Laura, what about you?
I certainly agree with everything Mimi said, and in particular want to echo the point about mental health supports, access, resources. We're all going through a traumatic experience from COVID-19, and then the racial justice issues and the trauma that communities of color are experiencing and have been experiencing in reality for eons should not be underestimated. And so I appreciate Mimi bringing that up. I think all of us who live in Austin, I've lived in Austin more than 30 years, feel really smug about living here sometimes because it's such a great place to live and it's on all the top 10 lists of, best places to do whatever. But Austin is a very divided city in many respects, and socioeconomically in particular. And the COVID-19 issues, the racial justice issues are laying bare things that I think have largely been hidden to a lot of Austin in terms of disparities and inequities in this community that we all think is so great. It is not so great for a lot of people. And I think that is the biggest challenge and most serious issue facing all of us as Austinites, is to try to bring Austin's promise and potential to all of us who live here.
Thank you. And Susan?
Well, to further develop that, Laura, yeah, I agree, obviously, with everything Mimi and Laura talked about, and to kind of further development from the perspective of youth who are struggling with housing and with building their own communities around them and their support networks around them. We've got a confluence of trauma in the community. We've got a pandemic. We have an economic crisis, and we have a crisis around racial justice that for the youth we serve is, all three are hitting them in ways that I can't express how fundamental they are to our clients' just very well-being, working so hard to get into housing and to a job, and to have that destabilized. And every issue around racism that they've experienced their whole lives is now playing out there in ways that are to turn on the TV or engage in social media, just further traumatizing. So understanding that we need a real mental health response in this community to that level of trauma. But I think to speak broadly at to Laura's point about this, we've got kind of a tale of two Austins going on, and we have for quite a while, because one of the lists we also top is the disparity in income and opportunity. And this isn't, I think, a big secret, but I don't think Austin itself has really come to terms with being that city and what it feels like to be that city. So over the last year in particular, as there's been so much controversy and rancor and divisiveness around homelessness, you know, I've become accustomed to framing it in this way. You know, we have two issues. We have an issue of human suffering with homelessness, or with COVID, or with racial justice. There is human suffering. But then there's another issue, which is how all of us across the community are dealing with our own feelings, no matter where we sit in all of these issues with that. And I think that's part of the mental health response. It's part of the response of compassion, to really accept that we live in a community that needs to deal with some very structured inequities in this community. And I think Impact Austin is in a good place, one of many places in this community to have that dialogue and to spark some action. So I really, you know, encourage people to get involved if you're not.
Thank you. Thank you all so much for really thoughtful answers for what was a very difficult question. And it looks like it's time to wrap up. I'm getting the music playing me off and all of that good stuff. But I want to thank you all so much, Mimi, Laura, Susan, and Christina, for sharing your expertise with us today. If we didn't get to questions, we will answer those offline for you. And if anybody is interested in getting involved with Impact Austin, if you have questions, please visit our website, impactaustin.org, or reach out to any of the members. There are so many different ways to get involved with Impact Austin, and through that, getting involved in the community, learning, gaining valuable leadership experience. And I'm so happy to be a part of it. And thank you everyone for joining us. And hopefully I will see you at a future Impact Austin event, maybe in person, maybe through your computer screen again. Thanks.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Lauren. Thank you, everyone. Be well.